Following program is classified MA 15+. It contains some coarse language and sexual references. Channel 10 advises that it's not suitable for people under 15.
Good evening, I'm Dicko. Welcome to Can of Worms, the show that refuses to beat around the bush. Tonight, prepare yourself for an orgy of opinion as we upload our views on porn. And is it doom and gloom for the bride and groom? Marriage goes under the spotlight. And what's Danny been up to? Well, he's been offering unsuspecting women an indecent and very public proposal.
Tennille, will you marry me?
Yes?
Yes! She said yes!
To sort through these issues, as well as clamber through our moral minefield, three very different Aussies. To my right, a two-time nominee for Best Show at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival. He's the comedian's comedian. Hailing from the burbs of Melbourne, he's a husband, he's a father, he's Lawrence Mooney.
Thank you very much for coming.
In the middle, a Catholic married mum of three who spent years working in a maximum security juvenile detention centre. Compared to that, winning MasterChef and selling a couple of 100,000 cookbooks has been easy. Please welcome Julie Goodwin. Our third guest is a muso, radio host, footy fan, film blogger and a member of New York University alumni. Say hello to my old mate from Idol, James Mathison. And finally, my sensational co-host, who shall be bringing us all of our Roy Morgan national polls, Meshel, Laurie.
Hello everyone. Oh, you guys. God, you helped elevate John Elliott, Don Burke and Bob Catter to take their places alongside lolcats as internet sensations. Thank you. Tonight, who will you elevate? We are Can of Worms TV on Twitter and Facebook. Or just head to our website, of course, canofworms.com.au.
OK, let's kick off with our first big worm of the night. Now, in my day, it took a lot of effort to get hold of pornographic material. You either risked your neck trying to fish it off the top of your dad's wardrobe, or you had to make 5 trips to the newsagents and hope the cute girl wasn't working the till. These days, it feels like porn is absolutely everywhere. Well, can we handle it? You know the drill. You've got your yes-nos at the ready. Let's ask you our first big worm of the night. Is porn a normal, healthy part of adult life? Yes or no? You got 5 seconds. Jimmy.
No one believes your name.
Why would you put me on next to a woman who feels like my own mother and ask me about pornography?
I don't know how he knows that, but...
Well, James, you said yes.
Yes.
Julie said no. Lawrence, you said no. Now, James, what was... There's no getting out of it now, mate. James, what was your first introduction to pornography when you were young?
Let me think, Dicko. It might have been a Bras and Things catalogue.
Yeah?
Oh, jeez. But I think it probably escalated, like, to magazines after that.
And where did you get them from?
Like, there was always a cool guy who had access to pornos, and, you know... or the grubby guy who had access to pornos. You know, but, you know, it seemed like a naughty, cheeky thing to do when you were growing up, definitely. And, you know, when you ask about is it a normal, healthy part of adult life, I mean, when I'm looking at it, it feels normal. and very healthy.
What was your first encounter with porn, Laurie?
In the schoolyard, as a primary school kid, somebody came along with, you know, the centerfold, I think a woman wearing a sombrero and the Mexican blanket kind of, and, you know, there's her bush, and that was exciting, and it's like, I want to see more of that, I want to see more boobs, I want to see vaginas, and so I think that in that sense, your Penthouse and your Playboy magazine kind of opened up a world for the curious.
Julie, we all get the impression that teenage boys go on a tireless quest to find porn. What about girls? You must have encountered it when you were growing up.
Oh, I encountered it. And you're right, the internet is so all-pervasive, it's so part of everyone's life. I went on, and this is a little while ago now, to look for the lyrics of a Broadway musical, and I tell you what...
Yeah, that's what I was doing.
I can't type anything goes into Google anymore.
No.
And I can't look at
Julie, let's get back to when you were young, say 12, 13, 14. Now, as I said, young boys tend to go looking for it. It certainly finds them. But do girls come across it as well?
I grew up in a very female, strong family, and I went to an all-girls school, and I can honestly say that it was never presented to me in my teenage years.
James, look, interacting with porn is often seen as a very lonely, seedy, guilt-ridden...
Wait, who said that?
Well, you tell me.
I don't know if it's lonely. No, I think there is definitely attached to it a sort of stigma of guilt, you know. It is a bit dirty. But at the same time, I don't feel like I need to go out and, you know, cleanse myself after, you know, watching pornography.
Can I ask?
I don't know what that cleansing would involve, but...
Spray and wipe, mostly.
If someone said, what did you do last night? What did you get up to, Jimmy? Would you say, I just me and anythinggoes.org and just pants down and internet time? Would you admit...
Can I just clarify, you don't have to have your pants all the way down anymore.
Okay.
You know?
No, that's fair enough, yeah.
To me, a normal and healthy sexual relationship's with another human being, not a computer screen and a box of tissues.
Yeah.
Hold on. Julie, you make a good point, but the facts are that just a few weeks ago, 40,000 people turned up to Sexpo in Brisbane. Now, these are all normal, healthy, consenting adults. Aren't you just being a killjoy?
Oh, look, I'm always seen as a killjoy. Ask my 3 kids. But to me, this industry, it's an exploitative industry. I think it's got some really degrading elements to it. In a world where there's still women and children being sold into sex slavery, I mean, you look around at the issues that our teenagers face now. They feel the need to sext images of themselves to one another, and it's just becoming too normalised for my liking. I think it's a filthy industry, and not what I want my boys to grow up understanding is normal, healthy sexuality.
Lawrence, what's your take on that?
I think it's kind of pretty healthy to be able to find out when you've got a curiosity and have those questions answered. The porn industry has kind of jumped the rails, and now we're getting these conventions that a lot of young men are seeing where most hetero porn goes oral sex, vaginal sex, anal sex, ejaculate on someone's face. Now that isn't how normal sex works when you first start to have sex.
The order's normally different.
Yeah, you mix it up.
Lawrence makes a really good point, though. Is the prevalence of porn teaching our young kids sex without the etiquette?
Oh, I have no doubt that there's definitely a line. But, you know, if I have a picture magazine or a Playboy magazine, that's very different to me looking at, you know, gangbang, multiracial anal cum shots.
Don't worry, Jules, there's a link to it on Anything Goes. Yeah.
Julie's totally right in the sense that when something, no matter what it is, whether it's pornography or not, becomes degrading, humiliating, and becomes violent even, then someone needs to step in.
I disagree with someone needs to step in. I disagree with any form of censorship whatsoever. The idea of an internet filter is retrograde 50s rubbish. And I think that porno is incredibly corrosive for a young mind, because you get to a point where nothing will satisfy you because you're in this kind of like fantasy bubble and nothing's real anymore, and it's also highly addictive. I became addicted to porn. I ended up having my sex life with pornography, and it probably ended up being the destruction of my relationship, to the point where I moved out and I couldn't have a computer for a couple of years to wean myself off it because I was a recovering porn addict.
How do you become a porn addict?
You have to wank a lot.
Exactly. That's it in a nutshell. And essentially, I'm a man in my mid-40s now, and I'm married, and I want to be able to have a sex life with my wife, and I've got to face the reality that, you know, I haven't got that many opportunities to ejaculate in one given week. So I can't waste standing on the computer. I've got to take all I can for the love life I want. Is everyone still here? Or did you just all...
Julie, they dug up Pompeii and found very graphic sex scenes on the walls there, and the Kama Sutra's been around for centuries. You know, isn't this just something that's always been with us?
I think the human body's a beautiful thing, but I don't want my sons to grow up thinking that, you know, when they meet the perfect woman, she's only going to be able to say, yes, yes, give me more, and that she's going to look like, you know, plastic and waxed, and I don't want them to get a shock when they meet a real woman and have a real relationship.
Well, how have you dealt with this? You've got 3 sons.
We've got a filter on in our home because that's my choice for my children. I'm their parent and I'm allowed to do that.
And that's fine.
But to me, it's less about policing what they're doing and more about educating them about what's normal, about what's right. And basically, you know, I said to them, if you ever got too into that, just imagine that it's mum and it'll turn you right off. So I've probably set up some therapists with some work.
Can we change this? I'm out. I am out.
When every person in our family died, we were told that for the rest of our lives they were watching us. So whenever you tried to get any kind of action going of any description with yourself or anyone else, I'm just seeing my Auntie Pat. You want to instill it in your kids. Tell them Auntie Pat can see you, filthy little monkey.
No, look, I want my kids to have a healthy sexuality. I want them to grow up to be normal and healthy.
You've got to have a touchstone of reality, and the women that we look at on these pornos, they've got massive boobs, there's no pubic hair, there's no kissing, there's no foreplay, and the violent nature of what they yell out. I mean, you know, women screaming out, "Fuck that pussy." It's like it's some kind of disembodied rodent running around the room, you know. If you're going to be a porn star, at least do year 10 English. Learn what a pronoun is. It's fuck my pussy, okay?
OK. Coming up, we'll check the results of our national poll and find out what our audience thinks. You're with Can of Worms.
No man watches a bit of porn and goes, really interesting plot twist. I'll come back later.
At the special time, 6:30 Sunday on 10.
Welcome.
The final 2 face their last big challenge.
The time starts now.
And on the Renovators, there's a mystery prize up for grabs that has the power to be a real game changer.
Oh my God.
It's a big night of TV you can't miss.
Who is going to be Australia's next MasterChef?
The MasterChef finale from 6:30 Sunday on 10. This program is brought to you by Coke Zero. It's time to zero in and upload your challenge at cokeunleashed.com.au.
Welcome back to Can of Worms. We're asking, is porn a normal, healthy part of adult life? James says yes, Julie and Lawrence say no. James, I want to come to you next. There's some horrible stuff in pornography that really brutalises and objectifies women. How can that be a good thing?
It's not. It's not a good thing. But are we saying that all pornography is unhealthy? That's not the case. There's some stuff that is pretty standard, you know, boy on girl. Surely that's okay.
Well, these days, a blowjob is entry level. That's what girls are being expected to do on first dates, James. And would you say that is down to pornography?
I have to go out more. If that's the case. Are you sure of that?
Well, I think they must be learning it online because they definitely didn't get it from their mother's generation.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, but you're talking about part of adult life once you're legally allowed to watch it and buy it from a news agency, and that was the law initially, you know. You had to be 18 plus to watch pornography, and you're meant to online, then I think that's fine.
Julie, what if I was to tell you that a huge number of porn sites in Australia are amateur sites where Brenda and Brian from Dubbo will be uploading their sex sessions because they get a kick out of people watching it? Now, that's victimless. What's wrong with that?
Well, I don't think it necessarily is victimless if people are seeing it that shouldn't be seeing it. The Telegraph in London today published an article that there's a causal link between pornography and sex crime.
Are you against pornography in general or just the dangerous dark stuff?
Completely against the dangerous dark stuff, and I would just like the other stuff to just, you know...
Go away.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'd like it to be a more private thing. I don't like having it thrust upon me, for want of a better word. You know, I don't like it being in people's faces. I think it's far too in your face. I mean, you get on the computer...
It is very in your face.
The pop-ups come up. I don't invite that. You know, I don't want to see it. I don't want to have somebody's Brazilian waxed fanny in my face when I'm trying to look at my email. So I think it's too available.
James, what would you say is a reasonable amount of porn use in a given week?
Oh, reasonable, probably a couple of hours.
Over how many days?
But hold on, you don't watch a couple of hours of porno. What Dicko's asking you is how many times is it okay to masturbate in a week? And I don't think there's any kind of answer for that. Really.
Is that what you're asking me?
Well,
how many times is it okay?
You know, no man watches a bit of porn and goes, really interesting plot twist. I'll come back later and see how that finishes. There's one reason why you put porno on, is you want to, you know, get yourself across the line.
And therefore it's not hours, is it? It's like 8 minutes.
It's minutes.
Yeah.
Well, what sort of usage with you started to ring alarm bells?
I was kind of afraid to go home because I knew that I would get straight through the door and sit down at the computer and start watching porno. And I felt like it was a very secretive thing. So you've got, you know, your public life, your personal life, and then you've got your secret life. And this was part of my secret life. And I was watching way too much.
Would you restrict it or ban it?
Never. I'm a believer in the liberty of the individual, and so you've got to be able to find that out for yourself. I can't start dictating morals to people. I mean, to make this a moralistic issue is wrong.
I'm like Lawrence, I'm a civil libertarian. I believe in free speech and I believe in education is far more powerful than policing.
So you guys are both for education, but you're both saying we shouldn't ban it. So basically, I win. Is that how it works? Not quite.
Yeah. So, a hypothetical I'd like you to answer. You check the history of your home computer one night and discover that whenever you've been out of the house, your partner has been spending much of their spare time downloading porn. What would you do, James?
I'd be excited. I'd probably ask her, you know, why she hasn't asked me to maybe watch it with her.
What would you do, Julie?
I'd be gutted, I think. I'd like to think that I can have a relationship without that kind of assistance.
Would that be a real deal breaker for your relationship, Lawrence?
Not at all. I'd be fascinated to see what the porn was. It was one of those German ones where they're doing poo on one another. That's not for me. But if it's an unrealised sexual fantasy, because a lot of people are in relationships where they can't actually ask for what they want. You know, if you want a couple of digits up your date, put in a request, you know.
I want to get to our audience. Now, Christian, you've been listening to this debate. What's your view on porn?
I think part of being a normal, healthy adult is when you see a body, you don't see a thing, you see a person. And would we still be sexually aroused if we knew that that woman is now dead or she's a drug addict. And even if they're not those things, there's the question of human dignity. Essentially, you're choosing between reality and fantasy. Fantasy world is one where you're dominating, you're the greatest, you do whatever you want. And the real world is women who have needs, wants, luggage, desires, parents, brothers, and you can't equate the two. And it's so much easier just to get lost in the fantasy.
Well, thank you very much for your points made so beautifully and articulately, and thank you for being open. Appreciate it. Now, do we have Zara Stardust? Zara, I'm assuming with a name like that, you're not a librarian?
I'm not a librarian.
No? So what do you do?
I'm a penthouse pet and I work in the adult industry. And for me, I know from my experience, there is an amazing diversity of pornography in Australia. We have companies like Abby Winters where people perform without makeup in their own homes. Internationally, we have like Sasha Grey, who is a famous porn star whose philosophy is about not making porn that is predictable. And we have others like...
Keep going.
So,
there's also, and people like Mathison Young who used her money from pornography to start a feminist art gallery, and, you know, we have the Feminist Porn Awards now as well.
And Julie, the way Zara described that, it was almost like a feminist sisterhood. She was talking as though she's very dynamic and knows what she's doing.
You and obviously your colleagues have free choice. That's your choice to make, but it's not the case all over the world.
The things that impact the most on me as a performer and the things that objectify me and contain what I do are actually from people who have never met an adult performer, have never worked in the industry, who profess their opinions about us being victims without agency. That objectifies us, that humiliates us more than any audience ever has. So for me, the baseline is, as Annie Sprinkle said, the answer to bad porn isn't no porn, it's to make better porn.
Better porn. Can we speak to Yasmin, please?
I was actually in a relationship with a porn addict, and it's very demeaning, especially if you're wanting to be intimate and they would rather be watching porn at the same time. That changes the way the person acts in general, because they're always thinking about it, they're always talking about it, and it takes away their ability to be properly intimate and emotional.
Thank you very much for your honesty. Now, where's Luke? What's your view, mate?
I feel like I'm going to get crucified for this, but I think it is a normal and healthy part of life. Like, I'm 19 and I have a lot of friends who watch it and read it. I have lots of friends who watch it together and read it together. And also, it's just, it's a stress release, it's a cure for boredom, and it kind of satisfies those fantasies that some people need.
I can't believe you watch porn with your mates. That seems so weird to me. If I came home and my husband was sitting around drinking beers with his mates watching porn...
Well, we don't have a wank together, but, you know.
No, I get that.
But do you... That's how it starts, mate.
That's amazing.
Hey, thank you very much, Luke. Where's Amanda?
If my husband watches porn while we're married, I'm going to rip his pee-pee off.
Really?
Yes.
Is your husband there?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're completely fine with this agreement, yeah?
Oh, yeah, I guess so. I
have to be. Yeah, you better be.
No choice.
You wouldn't mind him looking at a picture of a naked woman, you just don't want him masturbating, is that it?
Yeah, if it's masturbation, then it's a big no-no. I'm readily available to him whenever he needs me. He doesn't need to go to a website to find or to search for his need.
He's a very lucky man.
Do you, like, understand how much men wank? Are you familiar with men? He just doesn't tell you.
Thank you so much. You guys are fantastic. Excellent. And thank you guys, but we really want to get to our Roy Morgan polls to find out what you, the nation, think on this, Madam Meshel.
We really should, Dicko, because this week Roy Morgan have polled the nation.
Let's check out Roy Morgan's poll.
They polled your brains out to find out what Australians think about whether or not porn is normal, it's a healthy part of adult life. Here's what you said. Is porn a normal, healthy part of adult life? Zip it up, please, because 52% said no. Although men, surprisingly enough, were far more likely than women to say yes. It's not that we don't look at it. 3 out of 5 of us have. Over a quarter first copping a squiz when underage. And that's probably why a whole heap reckon there should be better safeguards to prevent minors from viewing the stuff online. It's an age thing. 62% of the 18 to 24s think porn is healthy as. That shrinks to 18% for the 65s and over. I bet their opinion would change if they had broadband and Viagra.
Up soon, we talk marriage and ponder, if you like it, do you have to put a ring on it? But next, our guests earn their stripes in the moral minefield. You're watching Can of Worms.
And sent him kisses after he confirmed my rego. Yeah, he's no longer my mechanic.
No.
Your gin is back, and it's going to be big.
I'll make him an offer he can't refuse.
What the hell's that?
8:30 Wednesday on 10.
We've got the new guests, and boy, do we have the games.
Inhale away.
How's it going?
Fine.
Isn't that the word?
So, Australia, are you ready?
The brand new Your Gin, returning 8:30 Wednesday on 10.
Sorry?
Flicker.
I couldn't hear you over the sheet.
The girls are coming for dinner tomorrow night. We'll need a dining table, chairs, a bigger fridge, and a new stereo. It's okay. Renting from Mr. Rental means we have no large cash outlay. It's the smart thing to do.
Well, yes, of course.
You could have the latest TV to watch while the girls are over.
I know. If we rent from Mr. Rental, we can always have the latest and best. It's the smart thing to do.
That'll be the girls.
Mr. Rental Winter Warmer Specials now on.
Oh, Mr. Rental!
You're with Can of Worms. Now it's time for our guests to take on our moral minefield. Rules couldn't be simpler to the moral minefield. Just pick a subject, answer the question honestly, and then we'll tell you if your views are in tune with those of our recently polled studio audience. OK, cool. You're up first, Mooney. What are you going to pick?
Taboos, please.
Taboo?
Yeah.
Ooh. Have you ever peed in a public pool?
I never get out of a public pool to go to the toilet.
Do you just...
Oh, I mean... Number twos, maybe, but...
Maybe.
Everyone wheezes in the pool. If you get out to go to the toilet, you're a liar.
What? Even if you've had a couple of Baroccas?
You swim and wee, which is quite difficult.
I'm glad you took taboo.
Well, I was going to ask you the same question. Have you ever peed in a public pool?
No, but the ocean, yes.
The ocean's fine.
Why is the ocean fine?
It's big. And
What if it's a really big pool?
No, that's revolting.
What if it's a really small ocean?
OK, well, Lawrence said he has, and indeed would, pee in a public pool. What did our audience say? Oh, disagree. 53%.
I'm never going to a public pool again. 47% of the people are in there weeing.
Yeah.
It's making your eyes red. I hope it's the chlorine.
OK, Julie, what are you going to pick?
I'll go etiquette.
Have you pretended your mobile phone has dropped out just to end a conversation?
I may have. Hey, I'm going through a tunnel.
You don't think there's anything wrong with that?
It's disgustingly rude.
Have you ever done it to the husband?
No.
No?
No. But I'd like to ask this. Is it rude for him to take it into the toilet with him while he's talking to me?
Why don't we ask the blokes, do you? Julie, out with that.
I won't tell someone if I'm on the toilet talking to them on the mobile phone, but I'll do
That's the worst thing. You don't know, and then you hear a flush, and it's like, oh!
Oh, no, you hang up and then you flush.
Or you just don't flush.
Yeah.
You can always tell with the echo, can't you? So, are you in a toilet?
Yeah. I laugh when I flush. Oh, that was good, Mum. That was great.
OK, Julie said that she has pretended her phone has dropped out. to end the conversation. What did our audience say? Yes, of course. Oh, you rude bastards. OK, Jim, you're up next. You got 4 to pick from.
I'll take body.
Would you intervene in a fight between 2 strangers?
Yes, yes, definitely. How big are they?
Nikki Webster and her brother.
Yeah, I think so, definitely. If you think you are going to get pummeled, then you're probably a little bit more reluctant. But I think as a bloke, and if you feel, you know, fairly confident that you can stop violence from happening, I think, you know, you've almost got a little bit of an obligation.
I got a black eye once trying to separate a married couple who were punching on, and the woman smacked me.
Yeah. That probably says more about you.
Julie, would you intervene to stop a fight?
Yeah, I would.
Well, you've probably done it in a detention centre, haven't you?
I've done it between my kids too. But no, 2 strangers, yeah. I mean, I think even if it's just words.
How about you, Lawrence?
No, unless someone's getting a terrible beating. But if it's a stand-up fight between 2 drunken dickheads, go for your life.
OK, James said depending on whether they were hairy bikers or not, he would intervene in a fight between 2 strangers. What did our audience say? 62% said no, James.
Yeah, wusses.
OK, back to you, Lawrence. You got 3. Relationships, money or rules and regulations?
Rules and regulations.
Now, this one was sent in by Rebecca Basler via our website, Lawrence. Is tasting fruit at the supermarket stealing?
Yes, essentially it is. Do I do it? Yes, I do. I also taste the chicken. The Tim's hams. I'm just not just to the grapes. I even shave in there sometimes.
Now, Julie, you'd be a bit torn on this because obviously I've seen you deal with a supermarket, but also as a chef, you'd want to try the produce first. So where do you sit on this?
With grapes, yeah, I'll have a couple of grapes just because you don't want yucky grapes.
Not melons.
But I wouldn't no, I wouldn't eat a whole apple or something like that, you know.
You're not going to take a knife in with you and cut out a chunk of it.
No, I like it when they have the little trays set up with a mandarin already peeled and open, but I wouldn't peel and open a mandarin. But grapes.
The key, I think, is to actually take your own tray in with you.
Some toothpicks.
Lawrence, you said yes, of course. You think it is stealing?
I think it is stealing.
OK, what did our audience say? No, they're fine with it. Julie, you're up next.
I'll go money.
Money. Is it OK to ask for money instead of gifts at a wedding?
If you'd asked me that 10 or 15 years ago, I would have said, I think that's absolutely crass. But now I think that people are living together before they're married, so they've got a lot of stuff and maybe they need something major. Yeah, I think it's probably one of the most practical things you can do.
How about you, Jim? Think it's a bit tacky?
Oh, I think a little bit. You know, I think I'd prefer to see maybe gifts made out of money. So you sort of bridge the gap. Yeah. Here's a couch built out of $5 bills. But yeah, I think the idea of a gift is to show you care, and if that's how they want to receive it, then maybe it's up to them.
Julie thinks it's absolutely OK to ask for money instead of gifts at a wedding. What do our audience say? 80% said yes. One more, Jim. It's relationships.
I will choose...
Take your time.
I'll go relationships then. Yeah.
Is it OK to sign off on a work email with kisses?
Because I'm in the habit of sending it to my sisters and my family, I'll put kisses on the end. I recently booked my car into my mechanic and sent him kisses after he confirmed my rego. Yeah, he's no longer my mechanic.
No.
I think it's fine, absolutely. Unless you're trying to flirt with that person, you know, that's different. But, you know, if it's just a Gary who's, you know, who you're going to coffee with, I don't know Gary. I just said a man's name. I'm happy with exes, yeah, absolutely.
How about you, Julie?
Yeah, I think it's a little more love in the world.
How many kisses before it gets a bit creepy or sus?
3.
Oh,
3.
3's okay.
3's fine. 4, over the top.
And are they caps lock?
Caps lock's a different thing. Caps lock, 2 little ones, something's going on. But, you know, we're in show business, so everyone gets kisses.
Well, James said it is absolutely fine to, as long as he's not your mechanic, to sign off on an email with kisses. What did our audience say? Oh!
Frigid!
That was the moral minefield. Coming up, marriage. Till death do us part, or just until someone better comes along. Holy matrimony gets the once over next on Can of Worms.
And it absolutely breaks my heart that in my Australia, that option isn't available to everybody.
Amen, sister.
At the special time, 6:30 Sunday on 10.
Welcome.
The final 2 face their last big challenge.
The time starts now. And on the Renovators, there's a mystery prize up for grabs that has the power to be a real game changer.
Oh my God.
It's a big night of TV you can't miss.
Who is going to be Australia's next MasterChef?
The MasterChef finale from 6:30 Sunday on 10.
You're back with Can of Worms, where it's time to unleash our second big worm of the night. Love and marriage do indeed go together like a horse and carriage. But let's face it, who gets about in a pony and cart these days? That's right, attitudes are changing. Has the walk down the aisle lost its lustre? Let me propose you this worm, dearly beloved. Is marriage necessary anymore? Yes or no? You have 5 seconds. Oh, Jim.
Oh, man.
James
You guys
says no.
suck.
James says no. Julie says yes. Yep. Lawrence says yes. Now, Lawrence and Julie, you're both married, aren't
Yes.
you? Now, why did you decide to get married, Lawrence?
I wanted to get married. I just felt this innate need. And I think it makes things better.
In what way?
You declare your love publicly, and it creates, if you will, without wanting to sound too airy-fairy, its own magic. You know, making that commitment in front of a lot of people, once you've got witnesses, you can't back down.
Julie, now, was it magic when it happened?
Yeah, absolutely magic. And the fact that there's another human being in the world who's prepared to commit their life to me and promise me that they'll be there for me for the rest of their life, and someone that I feel the same way about, my best friend, my partner, that to me is the most wonderful thing in the world.
Did you live together before you got married?
Yes, we did.
How long for?
For about 9 months. I mean, being Catholic doesn't mean that I follow all of those rules.
No.
Otherwise, I'd have a lot more than 3 kids.
I'm telling the Pope.
I think I'm already on his blacklist, so go ahead.
James, do you ever see yourself getting married?
Oh, I imagine that might happen. Yeah, definitely.
To your mechanic?
To my mechanic.
So why have you said it's not necessary, James?
I know a lot of couples who've been together for a long time and they love each other. They're very secure with each other, and their relationship is no less valid than, say, a relationship that has been together for the same amount of time but have just happened to have gone down the aisle together.
Billions of people all around the world tuned in for Kate and Will's big day. It was a wonderful ceremony and a fairy tale wedding. You know, what's wrong with a little bit of romance,
There's nothing
James?
wrong with romance at all. There's nothing wrong with marriage. But in this day and age, you know, enough marriages end in divorce. There's enough marriages that have, you know, problems or domestic violence or that end up in affairs. Then, you know, I don't see how getting married changes those statistics.
I answer the question as in, is marriage still necessary? And I think it is. And I think that ritual whether it's done in the eyes of the imaginary lord or at a registry office or wherever you do it, whatever you want to call the marriage is up to you. I'm not just saying, hey, just be happy with a commitment ceremony. I think that gay marriage should be legalised, and I think it's dark ages stuff that we're still arguing about it. But I think whatever you want to call marriage is how you define it.
If you say marriage isn't necessarily necessary, there's a whole group of people in this country that are not allowed to get married. Love is love and commitment is commitment. Marriage was a necessary step for me to take in my relationship, and it absolutely breaks my heart that in my Australia, that option isn't available to everybody.
Amen, sister. This is the part of the feel-good movie where she starts running for president. Isn't it? And then they run all the MasterChef kind of like, you know, she's whipping the country into a frenzy. I can see what you're doing. And
even if she was behind in the vote, she'd still get in because she'd play her immunity pin, wouldn't she? Hey, but Julie, you said marriage was necessary for you, but what did you get from marriage that you couldn't have got by living as a de facto couple?
Public acknowledgement, just the acceptance, the legal recognition, the social recognition by all our friends that we are one unit now. We went out together for nearly 6 years before we got married. And I can tell you that by our 4th year anniversary, I was saying to Mick, buddy, we've got to talk about the marriage thing. We've got to have the M conversation, because these are my years to find my life partner. I love you. I want to be with you for the rest of my life. He was like, I'm not ready to talk about it. The poor bugger already had a ring and wanted to keep it a surprise. Oh. If he hadn't been willing to commit to me in that way, you know, I would have been devastated.
Who was doing the pushing in your case, Lawrence? Was it you or your wife?
I think that I was beautifully manipulated to believe that marriage was the best thing for us. I think that marriage is much more a woman's deal than a man's deal. It's a woman that wants that commitment because they're hardwired to nest build and create a nice environment for themselves.
I think we as women, Jules, and as young girls are taught that men don't want to get married. So if you can make one marry you, it's a magic trick. You know, whether it's manipulating or getting pregnant or whatever you do to do.
Oh, that's terrible.
No, but don't you think, honestly, there's a bit of your mum and everyone sort of teaching you that men, you sort of got to catch one, you got to land one, you got to...
There's all that language that surrounds it.
Yeah.
And my wife said, listen, let's just elope, want to go to Sicily, let's get married in a church in Sicily. And I said, I love the idea of that, but your mother is never going to forgive me for that, no matter how much that is your idea. And it's very much about family. And people who get married say, this is just going to be about us. That's absolute bullshit. It's about anyone but you.
I know my parents got married with, you know, maybe 1 or 2 friends there, and it didn't change the importance of it. I guess what I'm saying is that, you know, if it's a celebration for other people, then is it necessary?
How about this, James?
How about it?
James, statistically, men live longer if they're married.
Yeah.
Not convinced?
So I'll die sooner if I don't get married?
Yes.
OK, I need my mechanic's number again.
When we return, the conversation heats up. Will wedding planners need to find a second job? Plus the results of our Roy Morgan national poll. You're with Can of Worms.
So I'm actually defending to the death your right to not get married, which I think's important as well.
At the special time of 6:30 Sunday, the MasterChef finale begins.
And on the Renovators, a mystery prize that'll be a real game changer.
Oh, my God.
From 6:30 Sunday on 10.
Married couples around the country have been fiddling uncomfortably with their rings since we asked the question, is marriage necessary anymore? Now, James says no, Julie and Lawrence say yes.
This is a pretty good marital aid. Imagine if I'm at home and I'm not communicating that well with my wife and she goes, oh, do you want some chicken for dinner tonight? I could change it. Like, I could say yes, or maybe...
Yeah.
And then she goes, babe, you want to go shopping? It's great.
There you go. It's not going to happen.
No.
No.
Okay.
Before we go to our audience, the thing that killed marriage for me as a concept was when it's the rise of the prenuptial agreement. Now, I can't think of anything less romantic or less trusting than a prenuptial agreement.
I tend to agree with you. Mind you, when I got married, I had nothing. So, no, I went into the relationship with, you know, assets and stock portfolio. No, I think it's the anathema of romance.
James, how would you deal with it?
No, you're hedging your bets. You're saying to someone, I will love you forever and ever, I promise you. Just in case, can I get you to sign here? You can't have it both ways, I don't know.
How would you feel, James, if you met a young heiress who was worth squillions?
Now we're talking, yes. I'm back.
But she said to you, I love you, let's get married, but sign this prenup.
Look, it would make me question the fact of whether it was right for us to get married. Absolutely.
It's the first stages of planning a divorce. Yeah. If you've got questions about whether or not you're going to get divorced, don't get married.
How much money does she have, though?
She has $500 million.
$500 million. OK, sure. Where do I sign?
Well, listen, it's been fascinating hearing your thoughts on this matter, but I really want to get to the audience. Farmer Dave Graham. Yeah. How are you, Dave?
G'day. Good.
So, Dave, you're a gay man. You're in a relationship, yeah? What's your view on marriage?
For me, it's the highest pedestal you can put a relationship on. It says that this relationship that we have is above all others that I've ever had before, and I want security and stability in that relationship so that when you know, the chips are down and things are going rough, there's still something that's going to keep us together.
So what are your plans?
We got engaged a wee while ago, and that's legal here. We can definitely get engaged. I don't think Julia Gillard had much to say about that. But she has a lot to say about what else we do, and that's I don't agree with.
I think it's a disgrace. And anyone that opposes the idea that you two guys should be able to celebrate a marriage and live together for the rest of your lives under the union of that marriage, they should get on a... I don't know where they should go. They should get on a... they should just stop it.
I totally agree with you, but I also don't think we should demonise people straight away, because a lot of people come from different generations, a different mentality, and the idea, you go, people who don't believe that gays should get married can just, you know, they're dinosaurs, they should die out. You know, their opinions are still valid.
I disagree with you, James. I think that if your opinion oppresses somebody else, then you've no right to that opinion in this society.
No, I don't agree. I think you've got the right to that opinion. You've definitely got the right to that opinion. And it's our challenge is to try and win them over.
I think we look back on this era the same way we look back on women not being able to vote and Aboriginal people not being able to vote as, you know, an injustice that occurred for far too long. And what were we thinking?
I've said that, no, that marriage isn't necessary. So I'm actually defending to the death your right to not get married, which I think's important as well.
Hey, Dave, thank you very much. Good luck, and just quietly, you've done well. He's gorgeous, isn't he?
He is.
Caroline, now, what's your view on marriage?
I get why people do it, but signing a lifetime contract saying I can be with this one person for the rest of my life, I'd say sign a 10-year contract. Say, I can be with you for 10 years, and then after 10 years, have your party and celebrate then, and then if it doesn't work out, walk away guilt-free.
So like a truck licence, 10 years, then you got to renew.
I mean, we've got to evolve, and I think that's what marriage needs to do now. Get married, but have a time limit.
I actually admire the viewpoint that if you're not sure you can make it for the rest of your life with one person, don't enter into a marriage. And I think if more people listened to that inner voice, there would be fewer divorces. But I reject the idea that no one can enter into a lifetime contract.
But Julie, how can you be sure when you're young and in love that this is for life? You don't know how that's going to go.
Well, I do, Dicko, because we promise each other on a daily basis that we're going to renew that decision every day moving forward. We renew the decision to love each other.
I can just imagine that. He's like, oh, yeah. Well, didn't I just promise you yesterday? I promise again.
No,
I promised you, Julie. I said it yesterday. I'm in. I love you.
It's just about refreshing that love that you've got for each other every day, reminding each other every day of
it's not Groundhog Day, Jim. Don't worry. Well, thank you so much for being candid on this subject. Thanks to our fantastic audience as well and all the participants there. Yes, give yourselves a round of applause. But we really want to know what Australia thinks on this, Meshel. Have you got the polls?
I do, sir. The Roy Morgan pollsters gave a whole lot of Australians the opportunity to finally tell the truth about their feelings toward marriage. Some of those conversations were quite lengthy, and as a result, a high percentage of Roy Morgan pollsters no longer want to get married. Let's have a look at the stats. Is marriage necessary anymore? Oh, wedding planners rejoice because 78% said yes. In fact, 61% said it makes the relationship more legitimate. Speaking of legitimacy, does it matter if you're hitched when you pop out a couple of kids? Nearly 3/4 say not at all. Oh, how times have changed. Men are most likely to say that marriage is something you should only do once, whilst women are more likely to say that marriage is something you should do as many times as it takes to get it right. And finally, when asked, do you think gay people should have the right to get married, 68% of Australians said, I do. Should we send that one to Canberra? I know they love polls. Now, the other interesting thing, Dicko, is that 18 to 24-year-olds are most likely to believe that marriage is necessary. Young Australians are right up for it.
So you're saying I've got a spring for 2 weddings with my girls?
Yes, you do. How exciting, and walk them down the aisle.
Not yet, girls, please. After the break, we present our Voice of the People trophy, but next, Danny Lick attempts to make an honest woman of, well, pretty much any woman that will have him.
So, Neil, will you marry me?
Yes?
Yes! She said yes!
Good evening, Tim Webster updating 10 News. Madeline Pulver breaks her silence, telling 10 News she's fine as the family try to put their horror ordeal behind them.
How are you feeling, Maddie? I'm okay, thank you.
In new details, 10 can reveal the hoax bomb was manufactured with gun-safe materials and attached with a bicycle chain. Australian shares lose $60 billion in value, their biggest slump for 3 years. Details tonight, 10's Late News.
Need a new phone? Better get into TeleChoice.
Holiday on your mind? P&O Cruises early bird sale is on. Book a 7-night cruise from just $699, including main meals and entertainment. Get in early. See your travel agent today.
We'd like everyone to experience the service of Australia's best bank. So come in and open an everyday account. Just deposit $2,000 a month and we'll waive the monthly fee.
Got a late night pizza craving? We've got it covered with our late night hours. Place any delivery order online from 9 p.m. till closing and get a free 1.25 litre Coke. Domino's, it's all good.
I love a good weekend with the Herald. It helps me see both sides of the story.
And I love the price.
The Weekender Package introductory offer. Just $2.95 a week for 3 papers home delivered. Call 1366 66.
Buy a sofa at Freedom right now and get half your second sofa for free. Second sofa, half price. Now at Freedom, the decorator behind every renovator.
No one knows where he came from.
Hello?
Are you lost? But he became an inspiration to an entire town.
Hey, that's somebody.
He's a dog!
And soon all of Australia will be talking about Red Dog.
Be a gentleman and move over.
Win a family trip to the Red Centre staying 3 nights at Uluru, all thanks to Red Dog.
Come on, boy.
Enter online at 10.com.au/Red Dog for your chance to win.
Get ready to get wild.
In cinemas, August 4.
Next week on 7 p.m, the entire cast of Glee.
Hot.
Megan Gale.
Miranda Kerr.
Getting hotter.
Sean McAuliffe.
Hot, hot, hot.
And a big Taylor Lautner surprise.
Now, that's just too hot.
That's next week on 7 p.m.
This program is brought to you by Coke Zero. It's time to zero in and upload your challenge at cokeunleashed.com.au.
Welcome back. Australia says it still has a love affair with marriage, and every good marriage begins with a romantic proposal. Now, some men spend months and months waiting for just the right moment, but not Dan Illick. He just pops the question to strangers.
Now, if marriage was no longer important, then surely strangers would just get married to, well, each other. So that's why I've come to Westfield Bondi Junction to see if I can lure strangers into making a lifelong commitment to a guy with a clipboard.
First, under the guise of running a simple survey...
yeah, it's for Travel Plus. Yeah,
I obtain a few personal tidbits of information, including the all-important marital status. Collecting the information, I return moments later to make a very special announcement.
Oh, Emily, even though I haven't known you very long, I know that you and I love travelling and going to the shops. Alice, you'd love to see more of Germany, and I would love to see more of Germany too, and you love design. Tennille, she loves photography as much as I do. And since this is the first place where we first met, I can't think of any other place for this, so Tennille, will you marry me?
Yes?
Yes! She said yes! So I just thought I'd ask you, Alice, will you marry me?
You think you're a lovely guy, but I just don't think my boyfriend would appreciate it.
Will you marry me, Emily?
Yeah.
So, my rather scientific experiment has proved that 2/3 of people consider the dream of a happy marriage just as important as a happy meal.
Dan Casanova Illick there. Now, Meshel, you've been handed the task of churning through worm ideas sent in from viewers. What have you found?
Oh, thanks so much, guys. I love them. Miss Sarah J88 on Twitter says, if guys wear eyeliner and makeup, does it make them gay?
It does not.
I think it just makes them Richard Wilkins. Facebook suggestion from Kate Gallen. Is it all right to let your daughter at 15 years of age sleep over at her boyfriend's?
Oh, no. No, 15's too young.
I agree.
25.
25?
We've found out an awful lot about you guys tonight, but what have you learned tonight, James?
I've learnt that I'm glad I'm not Julie Goodwin's son. Not for their sake. Oh, you would be an amazing mother, but we might have some awkward moments.
Julie Goodwin, you have been sensational tonight, but what have you learned?
I've learned some things that I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to block.
Lawrence, what have you learned, mate?
I've learned that since I've been sexually active, Michelle's Auntie Pam has been watching. And she has seen some crazy shit.
It is time to announce the winner of our Voice of the People Award. We polled our studio audience during the last break to find out which of you holds a life view that most reflects their own. With an approval rating of well past 68%, tonight's award goes to Julie Goodwin. Okay, that brings us to the end of the show. Please thank Lawrence, Julie and James. also the fantastic Meshel, Laurie.
Thank you. Hey, next week, guess what? The renovations are done and we are back at our old time of 8:30. Isn't that exciting? And don't forget the Can of Worms Friday night replay, of course, right here on 10.
Australia, we really do need to talk. Next week, we'll turn our attention to teens and drugs. Should we tell them everything? Until then, you've been watching Can of Worms. I'm Dicko. Good night.
Your Gene's back, and it's going to be big.
I'll make him an offer he can't refuse.
What the hell's that?
We've got the new guests, and boy, do we have the games.
How's it going?
Fine. Brand new Your Gen on 10.
Tonight, the collar bomb victim breaks her silence as new evidence is revealed. $60 billion gone, Australia's stock market shockwave. And in a spin over Shane Warne's dramatic new form. Hello, I'm Tim Webster. Welcome to 10's Late News. Also tonight, From Beyond the Grave, Alfred Hitchcock's greatest film mystery. And first, teenage bomb hoax victim Madeline Pulver has spoken to the media for the first time since her ordeal. It came as police received crucial new information and revealed the collar bomb was made from gun-safe materials and a bike chain.
For those 10 unimaginable hours, these were the words Madeline Pulver feared she might never live to say. Her father, William, says the family's first night together since the attack was perhaps their most treasured.
It was beautiful. You know, it was kids were a little tender. Ended up all 6 mattresses in one room. But it was nice. It was very nice.
Their focus now trying to find some way to help the 18-year-old leave the trauma behind.
We're off to meetings to see what we can do to try and help her get back to a normal life.
Both friends and strangers have already overwhelmed the family with support.
They're so beautiful, most undeserving, most sweetest person I know.
But there's a lot more to come. This is a trial run.
But none supported Madeline, as did this woman, Constable Karen Loudon. As one of the first officers on the scene, she abandoned concerns for her own safety to comfort the teenager until the bomb squad arrived.
She was just wonderful. She did everything right. She was just an amazing person. The strongest girl in the world at the moment, definitely.
She wouldn't want to be considered a hero, but she was in that house. She did sit with that young girl for 3 hours. She had a belief that this was potentially a life-threatening situation.
The police investigation has been tireless and continued well into the night. A strike force assembled to catch the extortionist has been labelled the state's very best.
It's a serious matter. This is the sort of crime we haven't seen in Australia before. They are certainly well advanced and they are on the track.
One of the key leads in this case was actually offered up by the driver of celebrity racehorse trainer Gay Waterhouse. Now, he's told detectives here at North Sydney that he actually saw the extortionist run from the mansion to a nearby car before speeding off with a female driver. Detectives have also seized computers and are examining references made on the ransom note to this popular historical novel by James Clavell.